Hi, thank you so much for joining me today for a 30-minute slow flow deep stretch class. So we're going to be mostly on the ground today with longer holds, and we're going to bring a lot of attention to our breath as we hold the poses. So we're actually going to start in a seated position today. So come into whatever is most comfortable, where you can keep the sitting bones grounded on the floor and a tall spine, okay? So you can choose half lotus, you can choose full lotus, you can choose easy pose with one ankle in front of the other. You can take butterfly pose if you want to get a little bit deeper into the hips. And then we'll find that tall spine. Roll the shoulders down away from the ears, reach up through the crown of the head and close the eyes. Take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Fill the belly up. Let the belly expand. And then the breath rises up into the chest, and the chest lifts and broadens. Little pause at the top, and then just let it go through the mouth. We'll take one more breath like that. Inhale. Feel the belly release and expand and fill up. The breath moves, lifts and separates the ribs, fills up the lungs, lifts the sternum, holding at the top, and then open mouth exhale. Close the lips, inhale through the nose. Pause at the top, keep the lips closed, and exhale through the nose. Continue like this as we deepen into our Ujjayi breath. The breath is audible by gently constricting the back of the throat. If we're in easy pose or half lotus or full lotus, go ahead and just switch the legs out. So the opposite leg is either on top or in front. Find that long spine again. We'll hold here for another 5 breaths. Continue to lengthen the spine as we inhale, and feel your energy grounding as we exhale. Complete this exhale. Inhale, lift up through the crown of the head, and exhale, release right ear to right shoulder, chin to chest, and come into half or full neck rolls. Keep the shoulders lowered away from the ears, but keep the spine lifted. One more in this direction. Pause when the chin meets the chest in reverse directions. Come back to a neutral position, tall spine. And gently open the eyes and come into a tabletop position on our mat. Position the shoulders over the wrists and the hips over the knees, tops of the feet flat to the floor, nice flat back. And as we inhale, we'll release the belly down toward the floor, lift through the crown of the head and the tailbone. And as we exhale, round the spine, lift and separate the shoulder blades, draw the tailbone down, and continue to go back and forth. Inhaling, coming to cow. Exhaling, rounding to cat. Make sure that you can hear your breath as we begin to connect the breath to the movement. And work toward making the inhale equal length to the exhale. And so the movement, cow and cat, will be equal length. Last one, rounding into cat. And then we'll meet in tabletop position, nice flat back. From here, keep the hips right where they are over the knees, and we're gonna come into puppy pose or melting heart pose. So go ahead and just walk the hands a little bit wider than shoulder distance and toward the front of the mat. As we sink down, forehead eventually reaches the ground. But again, hips stay up over the knees, so a little bit different than child's pose, a little more room to stretch into the shoulders. And as the name implies, we melt the heart toward the floor. So if the shoulders are tight, this could feel a little bit intense, so really work with the breath. As we exhale, we just let that chest sink, soften into the shoulders. And we'll do one more full inhale and exhale here in melting heart pose. And we're going to want to walk the hands a little bit back and back in line with the shoulders, and then bring the hips all the way to the heels this time, and we'll take extended child's pose. 3 more deep breaths here. Now we soften into the hips. And let's take a stretch through the side. So walk the hands off to the right, but keep pressing firmly the left hip toward the left heel. So you should feel a really deep stretch in your left armpit and down through your left rib cage. And we stretch the intercostal muscles between the ribs as we deepen into the breath. Walk the hands back through center and off to the left. Reach through right fingertips and then press firmly right hip toward right heel. Bring the breath into the right lung. Expand the right ribs. And if you take that nice deep inhale, you should feel the stretch increase as we hold here. And certainly probably feeling the hips now. And let's walk back towards center, and we're going to take a twist. So keep that right arm extended and slide the left arm underneath the right. Come onto left shoulder and left ear. So now we're stretching the back of the shoulder. And we're finding a twist in our upper back. And continuing to open up the hips as we hold child's pose. If it becomes too intense in child's pose, just lift the hips and shake out the legs and then come back into it. Let's extend that left arm long and slide the right arm underneath the left. Come onto the back of the right shoulder and the right ear. And walk that right hand back to center. One big stretch back, elongating the whole spine. And then press back up to tabletop. Okay, so this would be a good place if you didn't already to take that little stretch of the legs. So just press back through the right heel and switch it out. Press back through the left heel, just getting that blood back into the knees. Good, and then we're going to tuck all 10 toes under, Spread them so that you have a little bit of mat between each toe, and each toe is making contact with the mat. And then set the hips back on the heels. Find a tall spine and hold here for toes pose. So we're stretching out the bottoms of the feet, we're stretching out the joints of the toes. And we're continuing to work with the breath. Take 5 more breaths here at your own pace, and really bring your awareness to your breath. So working toward equal length, inhale and exhale. So we might be feeling some heat and some intensity in the feet right now. It's a good thing. We're going to add a little bit of heat and intensity into the arms and the hands, and then we'll stretch everything out. So what we're going to do is reach both arms up overhead, reach the fingers nice and long, spread the fingers wide so the palms are nice and extended, and then squeeze both hands at the same time into fists, and squeeze them really, really tight. And then open the hands back up, extend through the fingertips, and squeeze. We're going to continue to do this motion, and we'll start to pick up the pace a little bit. So you'll feel some heat building in your arms, your shoulders, but especially in your hands. Focus on your breath. Continue to breathe long and steady through the nose. Start to pick up the pace a little bit with the hands for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the hands down onto the knees, and then you can stay in toes pose if you can handle it a little bit longer, or of course you can release and come onto the tops of the feet. So either way, we're going to extend the arms up one more time, and we're going to extend that left arm forward and the right arm back. So we're going to keep our hips neutral, squared to the front of our mat, but we're going to twist using our core from the base of the spine through the crown of the head. And then inhale both arms up overhead and bring that right arm forward, left arm back. And once again, keep the hips squared. So we're just using the core to make the twist a little bit deeper. You can keep your gaze forward or bring it back toward the left fingertips. And then let's flow. Inhale up, exhale, twist. Inhale up, exhale, twist. We'll take one more on each side. Inhale up, exhale, twist. Last side, inhale up, exhale, twist. Inhale up. And if you haven't already, we get to release the feet now. So come back into tabletop position and give your feet a little bit of a shake. So you should feel a lot of fresh blood rushing into the joints of the toes, the ankles, the tops and the bottom of the feet. So this is really, really good for your feet to practice. From here, we're going to move into downward facing dog. So tuck those toes back under and lift the hips high. Release the heels down toward the mat. And look back at your heels. Make sure that they're disappearing behind the toes. So if your heels are in or out, make that adjustment so that you cannot even see your heels. As we press the heels down, whether or not they reach the mat, start to actively lift the toes off the mat. So you're gonna feel your shins fire up. The fronts of your legs are really active. Your quadriceps are nice and engaged. And then peek forward toward the hands. Make sure that the middle finger is pointed toward the front of the mat. The fingers are spread wide. So spread those thumbs out and then just take them in about 1 centimeter. So we're not straining through the thumb joint, but we're still active in the hands. So the finger pads are kind of making like a clawing motion on the mat. So we'll protect your wrists and engage your forearms. And then take the biceps and start to roll them in toward the ears, broadening through the shoulders, pressing the chest back and down. Take one more breath in downward facing dog. And then walk the feet forward about an inch or whatever it's going to take so that we can reach that left hand toward the right ankle. Take hold of the right ankle or the calf and then start to pull the left elbow to the left and look toward the right. So you find a nice deep twist in the spine. This should feel like a beautiful stretch in your hamstrings as well. And come back to downward facing dog and take that right hand to the left ankle or calf. Pull the right elbow to the right and look to the left. Twisting in the spine, stretching through the hamstrings. And release back to downward facing dog. Take your hands and walk them toward your feet. So coming to the back of the mat. And let's take ragdoll first. So we're going to release the spine before we take all the focus to the hamstrings. So bend both legs and start to rest the torso on top of the quadriceps. Take opposite hand to opposite elbow. You can hold here hanging or you can rock gently side to side. If you rock gently side to side, there's also the option to bend and straighten the leg. But really focus on lengthening the back side of the body. So we're nice and relaxed, letting gravity do its work. Nice spinal release. If you're ever feeling tight and tense in the shoulders, this is a great place to just release your head. Upper back is nice and soft. And then let's focus more on the hamstrings now. So coming into Uttanasana or forward fold, we'll take our hands to the mat. You can take them to a block if you have a block, maybe your shins or your quads. We're going to start to straighten through the legs. And if the hamstrings aren't very open yet, it's okay to keep them bent. We're just working the hamstrings now more than the spine, but we're also working the spine as well. So bringing your awareness to the backs of your legs, find comfortable edge to your stretch. And again, use the hands for support if it's too much strain on the hamstrings, because you don't want to overstretch them when they're not ready to open up yet. One more breath in forward fold. And then bring the hands back to the mat if they're not already. And we're going to walk forward all the way to plank pose. Just hold here for the count of 3 and 2 and 1 and lower all the way down. We're going to take a shoulder and a hip stretch. So extend the right arm to the right, keep the left hand right where it is underneath the left shoulder and roll to the right. Bring that left foot up and over and release the foot to the floor. Ear rests on the floor. And roll back to center. Switch sides, extend that left arm to the left, right hand underneath right shoulder, up and over with that right leg. Stamp the foot to the floor, left ear rests on the floor. Right knee lifts up to the sky. Hold here. And roll back to center. Place both hands underneath the shoulders and then just press back to child's pose. We're gonna make our way back to downward facing dog again. So just tuck those toes under, lift the hips high, take one more breath in downward facing dog. Look forward toward the hands and step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Hold here with the knee lifted off the floor. Press the chest forward, lift through the crown of the head. Feel this nice, deep but active stretch in your left hip, your right leg. Hold here for one more breath. All right, now we can release that left knee to the floor. We'll take a little more of a passive stretch here, just letting the body release. So go ahead and take the left foot flat to the floor, come down onto the forearms, or maybe forehead rests toward the floor. If it's too much, stay upright, pressing the chest forward, but let those hips sink down. Take 3 more long, steady Ujjayi breaths. Come back up onto the hands if we're not on the hands already. And then just let that knee roll open. So we'll come onto the outer edge of the right foot, letting the toes lift off the floor. And then hold here, or option to add the quadriceps stretch to the pose. So bending that left knee and then taking that right hand and reaching it around for the foot. We can gently pull the foot in and keep that chest rotating open if we're taking this variation on the pose. So in this pose, there's a lot going on in the body. So just kind of check in. Check in with your right hip and right glute. Check in with your left hip flexor and your left quad. Check in with the twist in the spine. And then take those 3 deep Ujjayi breaths and settle into the pose. As we exhale, we'll release that left foot down toward the floor, plant the hand, and then just step back to down dog and pedal out the feet. Really notice the difference between the right side and the left side. And then let's step the left foot to the outside of the left hand. Keep the hands planted firmly on the floor. And first we're gonna stay in this active pose. So draw the chest forward, lift through the crown of the head, sink into the hips, but stay fired up in this right quad. So knee is lifted off the mat. The breath is smooth and steady. Last inhale. And exhale, release the right knee to the floor. You can stay upright, just letting the hips sink. Take the top of the foot flat to the floor. Or if we're feeling a little more open in the hips and want to take it deeper, come down onto the forearms or maybe the forehead. Let's take 3 more deep Ujjayi breaths. If we're not on the hands, come back up onto the hands, bend that right leg as an option, and reach the left hand around for the inside of the right foot. Start to draw the left heel in, and then roll onto the outer edge of the left foot. I think I said wrong foot. And let the left knee fall open. Take this into a bit of a twist. So we'll start to open through the left shoulder, opening through the chest. 3 more Ujjayi breaths. Long, slow, and steady. 2 more. Last one. And release that right foot to the floor. Plant the hands, step back, down dog, and pedal out the feet. And let's come down onto the shins, cross over the ankles, come to a seat. We'll take Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Just kind of rock back and forth so we can feel the sitting bones grounding onto the floor. And then reach both arms up overhead and hinge forward, reaching the arms forward past the toes. Hold here with a long extended spine, and then rest the hands either on the quads, the shins, or the feet. Continue to reach the chest forward as we hinge at the hips. 1 more full breath here. And now hold for 3 more breaths, but now let's just be gentle, releasing the forehead down, rounding through the upper back, resting the arms. So a little more passive for these last couple of breaths. And let's round up. You can even just kind of drag your hands, just stacking the vertebra one at a time until we're all the way upright. And then we'll bend the legs, plant the feet on the floor, and slowly come down onto the back. Utilize the strength of the core to control the movement as we gently release all the way down. And then bring your feet to mat distance apart. Bring your arms to a goalpost position, and we're just gonna rock the knees back and forth. So to the right, back through center, to the left. 2 more on each side. Hold on the right. Back through center. Hold on the left. Back through center. Hug both knees into the chest. Make it a really tight squeeze. So we're actually going to bring the forehead toward the knees, maybe make contact, squeeze into a tight little ball for 3, 2, 1, and then just release all the tension from the body. We'll extend the legs long, let the arms rest alongside the body, feet will fall open, palms will face up. And again, rock around so that we can feel both sides of the body making contact with the ground equally. Take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Once again, let the belly fill all the way up. It's going to rise and expand. The breath will travel up into the ribs, up into the heart space. Hold it at the top and then release it through the mouth. As we come into Shavasana or corpse pose, we release our Ujjayi breath and we release all control of the breath. We're in a natural, relaxed rhythm. Our body is getting really soft as it settles in. And let the mind's action follow the body's action. So let the thoughts become soft, non-judgmental, non-attached. Please stay in Shavasana as long as you have time for. When you're ready, slowly make your way out of it. Thank you so much for joining me for this class. Today, as you go forward, may you have peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, peace in your heart. Namaste.